What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dad's Expensive Hobby.
What's up?
Today, this video is the first in a new series that I'm going to start doing called Clearance Rack Reviews, where basically every week or so I'm going to go and I'm going to find a figure that is in like a clearance bin somewhere or on sale somewhere, and I'm going to buy it and I'm going to review it and find out why it was in the clearance rack in the first place.
Why?
You know, was it worth the money that it was originally retailed for? Is it worth the money that I ended up paying for it? But you know, we'll get to those answers, you know, as we go along in each video. But today we're starting off with the NECA Gargoyles Broadway Ultimate Action Figure. These look really cool, and I'm really surprised that something like this was in a clearance rack. This thing was $25, and its original, I think, retail price was like $36. So that's a pretty decent little mark now, especially for all you know, what all it looks like we get. Right there's a little information on the back of the box if you want to pause and read it real quick. But let's quit wasting time. Let's get him out of the box and see what all he's about. Okay, now that I got him out of the box, I gotta say, he looks really good, and my God, those wings he comes with are enormous. He looks really awesome, you know, first impressions. There are a couple things I think, you know, as we get further into this that are probably going to be a little bit of an issue with him, but we'll cover all that here in a minute. Let's get started, you know, like we normally do. Let's find out how tall he is. And to the top of his ears, you know, head horn or whatever, he is about 6 3/4 inches tall, which would make the entire figure about 17.5 centimeters, give or take just a little bit. And I've got his legs bent kind of how a gargoyle would kind of stand, you know, not 100% straight out. They're bent just a little bit so that it kind of gives like an accurate scale as far as like what the figure, if it was a real person or whatever, would be standing. But anyways, let's compare him to some other figures I have, just so you can kind of get a mental idea of what he was compared to other figures you may have. And here he is next to the Marvel Legends Cowboy Wolverine. And here he is next to the Marvel Legends Black Winter Thor. And here he is next to the Marvel Legends Red Hulk. And if anything, this should give you some scale as to how tall and how wide those those wings are. And here he is next to the NECA Freddy vs. Jason Voorhees figure. And you can tell they're both from NECA just from the nice finishes and paintwork done on them. And here he is next to a can of root beer. All right, and I think all that looks really awesome. This figure just, you know, aesthetically looks really awesome. And in true NECA fashion, he comes with an awesome assortment of accessories. He comes with 2 head sculpts in total, and they look fantastic. He comes with this kind of neutral face on him in the package, and the details on it are incredible. And he comes with this like snarling, wide open mouth head. And man, it looks wicked. That great paintwork around the eyes and inside the mouth and teeth looks phenomenal. He comes with 6 hands in total. He comes with these 2 open hands on him in the package. And he comes with 2 fist hands, and their sculpt and detail is incredible looking. And he comes with like an open left hand that he can hold his popcorn, and he's got like a weapon holding right hand that he can hold his chicken leg or his axe or mace, and they look really good. And he also comes with this really awesome mace, and the dry brushing and stuff on it make it look nice and metallic and worn, and the leather handle kind of look, you know, with the wash on it looks fantastic. And also his really nice looking battle axe here, dry brushing, give it that kind of metal and the chipped edges right there, and again that leather, you know, that black wash on there to give it that leather worn look. This looks really awesome. And just to point out, this thing, the box calls this moss. I'm not really sure what this is, but it's painted really well. It's just kind of ambiguous looking. And I think for, you know, $35, well, $35, $36 when it was full on retail, I think that's pretty good. That would be worth it even at that, you know, at that price point. But for what I paid for it at $25, you can't beat that with a stick. So thus far, I don't know why this thing wound up in a, you know, in a bin. But let's take a look at his paint and detail, because there is plenty to talk about here. I'm going to bring him a little closer to the camera, and we're going to lose some of him. But if you just look at his face, look at the paint and shading on that gorgeous flat finish all over this entire figure. Head to toe is a flat finish. The eyes and mouth look good. There's nice line work and shading there. The musculature is shaded and looks really good. When you get really close to this airbrushing, it's a little little, it's like slightly speckly, but it almost kind of works because of that kind of grayish blue green kind of color that his skin has. So it's not super duper pronounced, but if he was probably a more saturated color, it would probably be more pronounced and not look quite as good, but it looks good regardless. They've kind of shaded his obliques on his belly a little bit, and I'm not really sure about that, but it looks okay. And for some reason, they shaded around his belly button. I just think it's funny. It's not a complaint. I just think it's funny. And the shading on like the muscular sculpt, like his musculature sculpt and his shading looks really, really nice. And if you look here at his back looks really, really awesome. I'm going to zoom in on one of his wings because they're, you know, just mirror image of each other. Look at that shading through there, the dry brushing that is on like the, you know, the texture of the wing. And these wings aren't a soft plastic, they're a hard plastic, if you can hear that. I think this is a little bit different of color. It's like a little bit darker, this part through here, than the rest of his body. So I'm not sure really why they kind of chose to do that. But it doesn't really bother me. It's just something I wanted to point out to you. But like I said, the shading on the wing and the detail and texture looks really awesome. That's the inside of the wing. And right here is the outside. It's more just kind of a solid black, but it has some kind of wash or something through it to make some parts a little bit darker than others. It looks really, really good. A little bit of questionable paint work through here a little, that some of that black kind of comes up onto the I guess you would call those like the fingers of the wing, you know, but I'm not going to complain too bad because it looks really good. Let's move down. His belt has a really nice gold paint to it and it looks really nice, and they did a good job of making this look like black, like wrinkled old black leather on his belt. That looks really good. Okay, a concern that I have is this, his little loin cloth or whatever you would want to call this is expertly finished. It looks really, really nice with the dry brush, and it looks like there's a wash and a little bit of dry brush in it throughout, and it looks really, really awesome. But and we'll talk about this more during the articulation, I worry about paint transfer, and I've just twisted him around a little bit, and there is a little bit, if you can see that. So that's something to be aware of if you go to buy this figure. The sculpting of his legs and the way they've done it looks really, really awesome. That looks, I don't even know what kind of, like a dog leg kind of leg, but there's like a name for that. But I'll look it up and I'll actually bring that up on the screen. Fingernail, like the claws on the toes, have a nice dry brush to them and looks good. His hands have some, I don't know why they're shading on the top of his hand, but it is, and I'm not going to complain, it looks good. And on the palms as well. And his claws look really, really good. So paint and detail and aesthetic wise, this figure is just awesome. I really, really, really like it. Let's move in and check out how well he moves, because NECA's, they're kind of hit and miss a little bit. All right, let's start with his wings. Now his wings, attaching here in his back, they just plug in to these little holes with that right there. You just stick them in the back, and they are kind of ratcheted. If you see that, you can kind of click it, click it, click it like that all the way around. And I worry that down the road that, you know long term that could wear out on somebody. These wings aren't super heavy, but combined they do kind of add enough weight to the back of the figure that he's actually kind of hard to stand up on his own. I would highly recommend you use his tail to stand him up. And they kind of click out like this, so you can move them that way. And see, if you move it too quickly, you can actually pop it out of his back. So you kind of got to go one notch at a time. That's not a complaint, just something to point out. His head, just because of the way he's sculpted, where he's got one of those, that Marvel Legends Wolverine kind of neck that's kind of sloped forward, you're not going to get a whole lot of back, but you do get some nice look down, and you can get some nice nuance out of it. And because of that, you can't really look up like I kind of pointed out because of the shape of his neck. But he is, if I can get his head off, he is on a double ball peg.
Thank you.
And it's nice and shallow and lets us move around really well, but just the sculpt of the neck and the way that it plugs into his head, you're not going to get too much look up. It's basically straight out, but you can look down excellently and still get a little bit of nuance, like I said. Now his shoulders, I should have heated this thing up because he is tight and squeaky.
That's what she said.
But right there, shy of 90 is about as high out to the side as you're going to get, but that's not that super big of a deal because this isn't like a martial artist or something. And they will come out in front of him a little bit, not a big bunch, but you can get it like that. If you move the wing, you can get a 360 out of it. He's got a bicep swivel that works just fine. Got a double jointed elbow with plenty of range in it. Not the best looking joint once you've engaged it. It's a little slicey, as I call it. It's just sliced out, but not that huge of a deal. And the wrists are on a hinge, and they work just fine too. Now his abdominal brake, you get some twist out of it, and there's not much paint transfer out of this end of it right here. You get a little bit of slide around on his belly. It's kind of weird looking, but you can get it. You're not going to get any like forward crunch out of him because his belly sticks out. Let me get his arm out of the way here, further than his chest. So you're not going to get any crunch forward, but then again, a belly like that, he's not doing sit-ups anyway. But you don't get any like back really either. It'll move about a millimeter back. And he's also got a swivel down here at the waist, and that's the one I pointed out earlier. You'll get some paint transfer down here because of this loincloth, so be mindful of that. But it does move pretty well. His legs, you can get a nice split out of him, and he is just on. I'm just going to pull his tail out for 1 second to, if I can get it.
Fuck.
Out, and there went one of the wings. Oh well. If you look up in there, it's just some ball pegs. So that just goes to show that ball pegs, I'll show you again, can get the job done. He can kick forward a little bit, not a big bunch, about as much range as like an Incredible Hulk figure. And when his tail isn't in, you can kick his leg back, but when his tail is in, it would get in the way. It's just so long, I pulled it out to demonstrate him a little bit better for you. His knee, it's a single jointed knee, and from the front looks really good, but when you look at it from the side, that's not the best looking knee joint ever, but it's not that not that big of a deal, but I just wanted to point out. And he does get 90 degrees out of it. But like I said, you're always going to be looking at him like this anyway, so the knee looks really good that way. I like the way his ankles are done. There is a joint here that kind of gives you some down, not a big bunch of forward like that, but it will go down. And then he's got a toe brake that gives you some of that extra articulation to really get his foot how you would want it. And they both are capable of giving you some rocker, so you get some rocker there at the ankle and some rocker down here at the toes.
Holy Jesus.
So I like his articulation. He's just, for demonstration purposes, he's just big and wide, and I was banging into everything. And also his tail, it just plugs in to the back of him right here. It's just kind of hard to get in and out, but it does work. And I'm going to take out that wing too. And his tail is bendable. It's like it's like an old school wire tail. And I'll be honest, you're going to be thankful that he has this tail, because especially with his wings on, he is kind of hard to stand up. So I would recommend using just kind of like if you collect Dragon Ball Z stuff and you have a Frieza figure, you can use that tail to stand him up. But all in all, I'm very pleased with his articulation. Could the shoulders be better? Sure, but I mean, you would probably have to sacrifice the aesthetic of this figure, and this figure's aesthetics is really, really good. Couple missing joints, you know what I mean? It could have a double jointed knee, but so what? It still moves really, really well. You're going to be very pleased with how this figure moves and with how it looks. But let's move into my final thoughts. Okay, I got him put back together so he doesn't look too disheveled when we're going through the final thoughts. This figure, I really, really like it. I don't know much of anything at all about the Gargoyles line, but NECA has made a believer out of me, and I think I'm going to start buying some more of these, because this figure is really good, especially for the $25 price point that I paid for him. 100% yes, you catch him in a clearance bin, pick him up. But even at the $36 full retail, buy this thing. This is a really good figure. Even if you don't like the Gargoyles, if you like good action figures that look beautiful, move really well for the most part, and have awesome accessories, you would be remiss to not pick this guy up. So I am giving this guy an A, but that's a normal review rating. This type of reviews, I'm going to be giving them like a rating of definitely would buy regardless of price, stuff like that. And I would definitely buy him for $36, no question. So that's pretty much all I've got for Mr. Broadway here. He's a great, great figure. If you have not subscribed yet, pause the video, scroll down, click subscribe. More importantly, click like, leave us a comment, all that good stuff. And with all that said, this has been Dad with Dad's Expensive Hobby, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.